You were not a hard worker. You were a person who was taught that your worth had to be earned every single day, and you believed it. That belief is not ambition. It is a trap. Right now, somewhere in the world, someone is canceling dinner with the people they love, not because their job asked them to, because they feel guilty if they don't. That guilt has a name. Researchers call it productivity-linked self-worth, the psychological overwork trap, where your value as a human being rises and falls with your output at work. But you do not need a research paper to recognize it. You feel it every time you sit down to rest and your brain whispers, you should be doing something. Most people think overwork is about ambition, about drive, about wanting more. It isn't. It is about fear. Fear that if you slow down, someone will finally see what you secretly suspect about yourself, that you are not enough. And so you work and work and work, not to build something, but to prove something. Here is the part no one tells you. You were not born this way. You were built this way. Somewhere between your first gold star in school and your first performance review at work, a system quietly installed a program inside you. That program has one rule. Your rest is a liability. Your productivity is your identity. And the moment you stop producing, you stop mattering. And the terrifying part? You did not notice it happening. We'll get to exactly how that program was installed and how to uninstall it. But first, let's look at the thing that keeps it running every single day.
Think about the last time you stayed late at work. Not because there was a deadline, not because the world would end, but because leaving on time felt wrong. Because you could feel the invisible eyes. Because some part of you needed to be seen working. That is not dedication. That is a psychological bond. And here is what makes it strange. You feel loyal to an institution that runs on spreadsheets, that views your contribution as a line item in a budget, that would restructure your entire department in a Tuesday morning meeting while you were still getting your first coffee of the day. And yet, you feel guilty taking a half day. You apologize for going on vacation. You answer emails at 10 p.m. with your family sitting next to you, slowly getting used to your absence. Studies show that 76% of employees check work messages outside of working hours, not because their contracts demand it, because they are afraid of what happens if they don't. Because they have tied their sense of safety, their sense of worth, to being available. That is the loyalty paradox. You give the most human parts of yourself to a system that was never designed to receive them. And the system does not feel guilty. Only you do.
Now, here is where it gets more personal. At some point, you started believing something. Something that felt like pride at first, but is quietly crushing you from the inside. They cannot do this without me. Maybe a manager said it to you. Maybe the workload implied it. Maybe you saw what happened when someone else left and you had to cover their responsibilities for 3 months before anyone was hired to replace them. And you thought, see, they need me. But here is the cold truth. They needed a function, and you filled it. There is a difference between being valued and being indispensable, and most companies are very skilled at making you feel both at once. They give you just enough responsibility to make you feel important, just enough urgency to keep your nervous system in a permanent state of alert, just enough praise to make you forget that the machine keeps running when people like you leave. Research shows that people who are the most overworked are also the most afraid to stop, not because their workload is literally impossible to manage, but because stopping would force them to ask a question they are not ready to answer. Who am I when I am not working? That question is the core of the trap. Because overworking is not just a time problem, it is an identity problem.
Ask someone who they are. 9 times out of 10, they will tell you what they do. I am a project manager. I am a lawyer. I am in marketing. Not, I am a father who coaches his daughter's football team on Saturdays. Not, I am someone who paints on Sunday mornings just because it feels good. Not, I am a person who makes the people around me feel a little less alone. Just, I am my job title. And once your job becomes your identity, setting a boundary at work feels like an attack on your sense of self. Saying no to extra work feels like saying no to who you are. So you say yes every time, until your calendar is full of things that matter to someone else and empty of everything that matters to you. This is the most dangerous part of the psychological overwork trap, because it does not feel like a trap. It feels like purpose. It feels like belonging. It feels like proof. But what it actually is the slow disappearance of a person. You. So what do you do? Not how do you work less? How do you become more than your output? The first step is the hardest. It is the moment you decide, quietly, privately, with no announcement, that your worth is not up for daily renegotiation, that it was never supposed to be, that a child does not earn love by being productive, and somewhere inside you there is still that child, still earning, still proving, still afraid of what happens when the output stops. The work is not a productivity hack. The work is learning to let that child rest. Practically, and this matters, start building an identity that exists outside your company. Write something under your own name. Build a skill that belongs to you, not your employer. Invest in relationships that survive your resignation. Create things that cannot be deleted with one admin click. Because here is the terrifying math. You are spending your healthiest years, your sharpest mind, your most creative hours, not building a life, but building a case for your own worth to a system that will replace you without a ceremony. And when you finally get the time you sacrificed for, you may not have the energy left to enjoy it. That is not ambition. That is the overwork trap at its most complete.
One day, whether you plan for it or not, the laptop will close for the last time. The Slack notifications will stop. The calendar will go quiet. And in that silence, you will not be thinking about your Q3 results. You will be thinking about the dinners you left cold, the conversations you half attended, the version of yourself you kept promising to return to once things slowed down. They never slow down, not unless you decide they do. Productivity is not the enemy. Working hard is not the enemy. The enemy is the quiet, invisible lie that your value as a human being is measured in output, that you have to earn your rest, that who you are is what you produce. You were not put here to be efficient. You were put here to live. And no job title, no promotion, no end-of-year review will ever give you that back once it is gone. So work hard, yes. Be excellent, yes. But never confuse being busy with being alive. Because the most productive thing you may ever do is decide that you, not your job, are the most important project you will ever work on.